Hey everybody, 1223 back here with the second lantern of the update. This was originally supposed to be a one lantern update, but it ended up being two because I got this lantern over the weekend. Because I finally sold my Union Pacific Extended Vision caboose. If you saw, it was in one of my first videos that I did, and I was trying to sell it, and I finally sold it for 50 bucks. But instead, this dude had some railroad lanterns for sale. He actually has a couple more we're going to try and go back and get. And for trade, this is what I traded for. This is an Adams and Westlake, or Adlake, railroad lantern with a blue Corning globe, and it is marked for the Erie Railroad, a railroad that I have not mentioned in any of my videos. This lantern has been cleaned up very well by me, and when I got this, I'll show you some of the close-up of the metal, because I used the last of my steel wool to clean this thing. So apparently my lantern stand's coming loose. There. But this thing was cleaned up with 4/0 steel wool, so it's really, really fine. But as you can see, the metal is very shiny. Here, I'll move this closer, make it easier. It says the Adams and Westlake Company right there on the lantern. On the lid, that's where how it's identified by Erie, has the E within the diamond. That's the Erie Lantern's logo. That's the Erie Railroad's logo. The metal cleaned up very well, and the globe is really, really good. I mean, that you can't get any more bluer than that. I don't have a lantern globe that's blue. I mean, I have teal ones, but not blue ones like that. So this globe, I believe, is made by Corning. But if you look here on some of the bottom portions of the lantern wires, you can see some of the stuff that did not come off. And just imagine that, but imagine the thing being as blacker than black. This whole lantern was probably as black paint. I mean, you couldn't describe how black it was when I got it. It took me about maybe close to an hour and a half to get the whole thing cleaned off. Probably about 3 things of steel wool, and it eventually came clean. And I'm pretty proud of it. It stands out downstairs from all my other lanterns because of that blue globe. And I'll get to that blue globe and show it to you up close. The insides have also been cleaned up a little bit. Here's the globe. Now, there is no identification markings to who made this globe on the globe, so I'm gonna assume it's Corning because that was the main manufacturer of Adlake globes. So I don't know if Kopp produced anything for Adlake. So, but when I got this lantern, it looked like that it honestly was taken off the railroad and put in storage. Either that, unless somebody burned it and they never cleaned it. Because, I mean, this whole thing was encased in a thick black layer of soot inside of that lid. It's very, very bad. The fuel pod is a number 300 Adlake burner. It says USA. Long time burning oil only. Right on there. It says Adlake 300 on the burner. It's cleaned up very good. This whole thing was covered in soot and pieces of old wick. Now I'm also going to show you the inside of this burner pot because it has something that is not yet that none of my lanterns have. At least yet, none of my other lanterns. This burner is somewhat similar to a convex. It's just that when you grab it, you twist it one way and it pops out. It's not threaded. See a wick here. Burner's really good. But when you look inside of it, I might have to get a flashlight for this. But if you look inside of it, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, yes, you can a little bit. Yes, you can a little bit. What you see in there is a bunch of fabric, and that is to absorb oil and or any moisture that gets inside of that tank. And I believe that if I read correctly, that it's also a thing that if the lantern were to get tipped over, that it would immediately oh, the wick still smells like kerosene. That's some tough stuff. Kerosene. But it were to put if the lantern were to be tipped over, I believe the fabric would do something to would absorb a lot of the oil and would put the lantern out to prevent a fire, which I think is a pretty good safety precaution. Now, this lantern, as most Adlakes do, has stuff on the bottom of it. Usually a lot of manufacturing info on the bottom of this lantern, on the bottom of any Adlake. In fact, I'm actually gonna have to take you off of here again and show you all this information that's on the bottom, because it's pretty extraordinary. Says Adlake Kero 341. I don't know what the 341 stands for. USA. That must be the ID number of the lantern. I'm not sure what that is. But in Canada, it says it was in Canada from 1921, 1923. Patents pending. So I'm not sure what most of this information means. Now, the holes that you're seeing there are typical of these lanterns, so don't get all freaked out about that. But I'm not sure what a lot of this means. There is one dent right there, but otherwise there's nothing wrong with this lantern at all. It cleaned up really well. So, but yup, this one was made for the Erie Railroad. Not too many of these style globes were ever embossed. It is rare to find a globe in this style globe embossed. Now, a ton of them were etched. In fact, nearly all of them were etched. Most replacement Adlake globes would have the words Adlake Kero embossed into the lantern. But this one must still have the original globe because it does not. And usually the replacement globes did. Because you'll find like Piper lanterns and Dressel lanterns and Handlin lanterns that have Adlake globes in them, which is pretty common. And it doesn't really do anything to it. But yeah, though, the blue globe lanterns usually will sell for a good deal of money. I like to have my globes very nice and straight, as you know. I mean, the guy had a Pennsylvania, or no, not Pennsylvania, C&O Railroad Adlake that had a Fresnel globe in it, which is what a lot of the later railroad lanterns had in it. It's identical to my Dietz traffic guard globe. They had a Fresnel globe in it, and it was roughly in the same condition. We need some cleaning up, whatever, but the burner was in good shape. So we need just a little bit of cleaning up. He also had, what I'm real excited about, well, I'll mention too, he also had a Vesta that was identical to my tall one that I just got, except the fact that it had been electrified, which was most unfortunate. So I'm not going to deal with that at all, which is kind of sad, because it was a careless electrification. So it would take some money to reconvert back to oil firing. He also had 3 very valuable lanterns, and he had no idea what they were worth, which is a good thing for me, but not for him. He had an Adams and Westlake, or Adlake, semaphore lantern, which is a one-lensed, it's almost like a giant version of my bolt signal lantern, but it's one lens on the front. It had been electrified in a way that it could be easy to convert back to oil firing. You just need to find a burner. He had an Adlake non-sweating switch lamp, which we all know switch lamps are worth money. He also had a very valuable Handlin marker lamp, which is a 2-lensed lantern that also been electrified very nicely, so it didn't destroy any of the lantern or value. And it's probably the most valuable of them all. I'm thinking about selling it. If we do buy them, I want to sell at least one of them to try and rack up some lantern money. Who knows how many lanterns we could buy with just one switch lantern. Or I could just keep it. But they're gonna need some work, but otherwise they're pretty good. So just hoping to, maybe score some good lanterns before the big lantern convention, which would be awesome. So, but this is just the last lantern for now. Still waiting for the Buckeye Dash. Should be here either tomorrow or Wednesday, so it's right around the corner. But we just talked to a guy today about getting the Vesta and the Buckeye Dash, because the Buckeye Dash, I'll show you what the deal is with the Buckeye Dash, but the Dietz Vest and the Dietz Buckeye Dash are going to be restored, get blasted down. Thinking about the square lift tubular, but since there's a hole in one of the air tubes, it's kind of dangerous whether to do it or not, because it might destroy the lantern from from trying to restore it. It's got the black paint on it. It looks so dirty. I don't like it at all. I don't want to cake another layer of paint on it. And maybe those the semaphore switch lamp marker lamp if we end up getting them, because blast them off, make them look as good as new. Because those things are, everybody knows how valuable those things are if they're in good shape. They're valuable like all the time, unless they're like a frame or just rusted out pieces of metal. So that's the only time they're not ever worth something. So that's just a little update of what's been happening lately. I mean, there's not too much going on. It's just going to be steady lantern videos for a while. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be any huge train events or anything to go to until Train Fest, but which will be my big score for viewers. So, otherwise, this is it. I mean, it's just a good looking lantern with that blue globe. So, this is it for the update. The Buckeye Dash should be here about any day. So, that's it for now. This is a lantern update. 12/23 out.